Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome once again to Pop Culture Comics in Overland Park, Kansas. It's time for brand new comic book reviews. Once again, I'm going to count down my top 3 favorites of DC and Marvel this week, and then I'm going to give you an indie book and a kid's book. So let's start things off with my number 3 book this week, Citizen Cold #1. One of the really interesting ideas presented in the first issue of Flashpoint is that Captain Cold, calling himself here Citizen Cold, is the hero of Central City instead of the Flash. But it's clear from the beginning that he isn't just a superhero out of the kindness of his own heart, and that he actually has some ulterior motives. This miniseries elaborates on that. It's a pretty original idea. The wanted felon who makes a name for himself as a hero to turn suspicion away from his crimes, and also to gain sizable endorsements to live comfortably on. It's a good commentary on naivety and desperation. Cold takes advantage of the populace, most of whom are willing to put up with his stuck-up and self-absorbed attitude, and even to let him go over the line in killing violent criminals because he's getting the job done. The book opens with an incredible fight I'm sure a lot of fans will be giddy to see. Citizen Cold versus Mr. Freeze. Scott Collins' art is masterful, and it's a good choice to use the Batman animated series style Freeze. He even has the removable head that walks around on robotic legs. Collins is writing and drawing, and he's quite good at both. Cold isn't exactly likable, but he's given a backstory that makes what he's doing at least somewhat believable, and at the very least intriguing. The opportunity is also finally taken here to do something with Wally West, another really solid Flashpoint tie-in. And coming in at number 2 this week is Ghost Rider, Point 1. These Point 1 issues are, of course, meant to be jumping on points, and this is absolutely a great time to start reading Ghost Rider, especially since this sets up the brand new Ghost Rider series that's about to start with number 1. Now, I'm not a big fan of Ghost Rider, but this issue has a lot of character. I was instantly struck by the art. Highly detailed, bright, vibrant colors, and it doesn't skimp at all on the fire. There's fire everywhere. It looks a lot like the few Ghost Rider comics I read in the mid-90s. The book gives us Ghost Rider's background just in case we don't know it, but it's very smart in how it integrates that exposition into its own story. It's all about how Johnny Blaze never gets anything for free. People are always offering him deals that come with unexpected catches, and he's learned to ignore everyone. He's jaded, but it's also pretty lighthearted about it. There's a lot of humor, and I really like Johnny's unique, albeit very southern way of describing things. And the funniest bits are when weird things set him off, like when he finds a demon who has a, quote, box-shaped heart, and he says, "Incorrect Nirvana reference. For this, it must die." I was laughing out loud. There's also this recurring joke where Ghost Rider asks every girl he meets if she's a vampire because he tried to date a girl earlier who turned out to be one, and that really made him angry. There are some new developments happening in the Ghost Rider mythos, and it's nice to see the character moving forward while simultaneously trying to draw in new readers, actually in a similar fashion to the current Silver Surfer mini. If you've always wondered about Ghost Rider but weren't sure if you'd like it, give this a shot. And number 1 on my top 3 this week is Batman Arkham City, number 2. So I just went back and read the first issue of Arkham City before reading this, and I'm so glad Paul Dini is doing this mini. I'm generally leery of prequel comics, this being a gap bridger between Arkham Asylum and the upcoming Arkham City video games, but I gotta say, this thing got my attention fast. Dini really explores the politics behind the idea of Arkham City, which is taking half of Gotham and turning it into an open-air prison. The mayor, of course, tries to assure everyone that Arkham's prisoners will actually be rehabilitated and added back into regular society, and that Arkham City is a chance for them to learn to be productive members of society. But of course, that's not what's happening at all. And we find here, not really a spoiler since the cover gives it away, that Hugo Strange is pulling the strings. I like that Dini drives the point home as to how scary this is by showing us a non-violent inmate who's about to be thrown in with the vicious ones like Mr. Zsasz. Dini is writing the Joker as, of course, only Dini can. It's a very animated series with a more adult twist, just like the video games, and it's impossible to read without hearing Mark Hamill. And Harley really steps up to the plate and does some pretty impressive stuff for the Joker, which I won't spoil. Since it's based on the games, Batman does rely a little more heavily on gadgets than I'd like, but otherwise, the story is surprisingly engaging. And I couldn't help it, my independent comic of the week this week is Spawn, number 208. Once again, Image isn't really indie, but this category is for books not in the big 2 companies, and this remains one of my favorite series right now. First off, the cover is gorgeous, and after so many somewhat generic Spawn suit covers, it's nice to get one that's about the issue's story and also so incredibly eye-catching. Spawn isn't messing around with Twitch, and I'll just say that it looks pretty bad for him at the beginning of the issue. I keep saying this, I still prefer the more dialed-back Jim, but I'm starting to get where he's coming from a little more here. He doesn't know Twitch. and he has no real reason to trust him. Everyone who's acted like they wanted to help Jim so far, including people pretending to be cops, by the way, have turned out to be demons who want to get their hands on or manipulate Jim's costume. So what he does to Twitch is overboard, but he's got to make sure he can trust him. And of course he's got that healing power. Twitch has a pretty important experience dealing with his dead son that brings up some stuff that goes all the way back to the early issue 100s, and a lot is revealed about big scary stuff that's on its way. Kudransky's art is still, as always, breathtaking, especially the wonderful panels in the first few pages of Spawn and Twitch on a roof high above the city. And my kids' book this week is the all-new Batman Brave and the Bold, number 8. This series is, like a lot of current all-ages titles, great for kids because they're standalone stories, but fun for adults for the exact same reason. I say this a lot, but sometimes I want to just sit down and read a comic without having to worry about what came before it or what's coming after it. You can't go wrong with this title. It has the same dry, punny, witty humor as the cartoon show. It's well drawn, and the ending, as is often the case with the show, is clever. This issue has Batman and Aquaman underwater on your basic quest to find a powerful amulet. Aquaman often makes fun of how routine this all is and spouts off a lot of tropes and cliches that often come with these kinds of stories. It's nice that the book recognizes that this is rehash material and then makes that the point of it. They encounter every big classic underwater danger we've seen in the big epics, including Scylla and Charybdis and the Sirens, and there's a comic timing in how fast each of those pops up. The quest centers around a ghost pirate who needs Batman and Aquaman's help, and his introduction is hilarious. He says, "I assure you I mean no harm, although when I lived, men called me Captain Fear." Also some fun Black Manta action. And other books I took a look at this week that are definitely worth your time. Batman and Robin, number 24. The Return of the Red Hood. Red Robin, number 24. Red Robin has to escape a huge group of assassins who are all after him. The Iron Age, number 1. This one-shot sets up a new story about a mad inventor trying to unleash hell on Earth by bringing back a horror from Marvel's past. Hulk-size Mini-Hulks, number 1. A fun, all-ages collection of comic strips featuring very cartoony versions of Marvel heroes, starring 3 different colored Hulks in a similar style to DC's Tiny Titans. Other Flashpoint tie-ins that came out this week, we've got Frankenstein and the Creatures of the Unknown, number 1, and also Emperor Aquaman, number 1. Some cool new figures just recently came out. The Brightest Day line is finally out, and here is Series 1. Here's Deadman and Aquaman, and also plenty of other figures in that line. Also wanted to show you that Pop Culture Comics has the current Green Lantern movie line. So check those out. If you're ever in the Kansas City area, be sure to check out Pop Culture Comics in Overland Park, Kansas. That's where I am at this very moment, and you can get these awesome comics and figures and tons of other really fantastic things, t-shirts, and more. And thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan. Happy reading.